Yo, dudes, it's Dokkan time again, and today we're going to go over the first stage of the Memorial Battle for Movie Edition for Gogeta and Broly. So yesterday I did the Gogeta one, if people want to go look at that. I did the Gogeta one specifically first because it actually has equipment tied to it, whereas the first phase fight with Broly doesn't have anything special. There's a couple missions for it, but it doesn't give you any out of the average rewards, so I figured I'd do the Gogeta first over that. Anyways, let's get on to phase 1. I'm going to try and make it brief. Broly is pretty straightforward on all of his phases except for 2. So, HP, 41 mil, 800k. Attack is 360k, which is how much the normals are going to be as the 360k attack. His defense is 270, he has 60% damage reduction, and he attacks 8 times a turn. He does have 1 million supers that are a physical based attack, so there are some units in the game that could nullify his super attack. Very few though, very few. He is an extreme tech type and he cannot dodge, so it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, shouldn't be too hard of a first phase. The 1 million damage marker is starting to become a normal thing. Doesn't make it any easier to deal with if it pops up in slot 1, however, so that is something to keep in mind and be wary of. But let's just move on to phase 2. So phase 2 is a little bit more difficult. Phase 2 has 54 million HP, 420 normals, 300 defense, 62% damage reduction, and attacks 8 times a turn. So there is one thing to keep in mind. This phase of Broly, extreme intelligence by the way, he super attacks 2 times a turn, and he can super after 4 attacks again. So frame 1, he could super you. 4 normals later, he could super you again. The other thing to keep in mind is that he does greatly raise his attack. So on the first super, normals will start hitting harder. That 420 damage for normals will turn into about 500 almost. And then after a second super attack, those normals will buff even higher to about a 550, almost 600k normal. So be very, very wary of your units. Be careful of what defense they have. Maybe try to blitz this guy a little bit, because he could surprise you. His damage is about roughly the same, 1.1 mil. Not too bad. Could be a little bit. No, that's about normal. It's about normal. He also cannot dodge, and once again, you cannot stun, seal, lower attack, and defense. You can't do any of that. There is no extra options for Broly fight. Now let's just move quickly on to the third phase, where we fight the full power Super Saiyan Broly. Full power Super Saiyan Broly is extreme AGL, as his new unit is as well. Once again, you cannot stun, seal, or lower his attack and defense. One thing to note, I will say, his lowering attack, the fact that you can't lower his attack and defense is due to his area effect. Not really sure why they tied it to that. I know that you are able to cancel area effects. I don't remember how exactly. I think you have to get your domain up afterwards, and then it cancels that out. So potentially this is actually an easier fight than we are presuming. Just really depends on other units with domains. His super attack does I'm just going to round it up, 1.7 million damage, which is quite a bit. And he does lower defense on the super that he hits you with. So he's pretty freaking dangerous. Once again, this is going to be one of those phases where you might want to start using some actives. You might want to start using some of the abilities of your late game kind of units, like Sword of Hope Trunks. Maybe even the Super Trunks, where he can Ghost Usher for free. Ghost Ushering might be okay right here. He does have 69 million HP. He's got 600k normals launching. He's got 400k defense and 65% damage reduction. And he attacks 9 times a turn. He does not dodge, though. He has no dodge. He has no dodge. Pretty intimidating phase. But yeah. Let's move on to the last phase, which is phase 4, where we fight the Broly trio. Broly, Chilai, and Lemo. They, once again, cannot be lowered attack, defense, stun, or supered. Sealed. And they cancel dodge. There is no dodging in this last phase. So on this phase, you need, that's not an understatement, you need to actually just launch every single active skill you got, pop up every domain, pop up every counter, standby, whatever. This is the time to do it. because if you can't dodge, that 1.8 million super attack could be coming in on frame 1. I've seen plenty of fights already on other people's videos where that super is coming out frame 1, slot 1. And trust me, there's very few units in the game that will survive that. Even future STRLR Gohan can barely survive that, taking about 300k damage. So be very wary. Be very wary. HP is 70 million. That's more HP than the rest of the entire fight. Attack is 510k. It's quite a bit. Those are quite a bit of normals. He does attack 10 times a turn. So, I mean, there is quite a few attacks. Make sure you count out those normals to be aware of where the next super will launch after he launches his first one. He has 65 damage reduction. He does not dodge. Ironic to the character art to this boss, he does not actually dodge. He cancels dodge, but he doesn't dodge himself, which is the only surviving factor here. Prior to this phase, it's kind of a dodge or die situation with the AGL Broly, but this one, you just need to let it all out. You need to go Super Saiyan 2, go Teen Gohan, and just let it rip, because this dude's gonna hit hard. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hope it helped you out and maybe give you an idea of what kind of units you could use for this fight, and have a good day and a good night.